With the new free agents, new draft picks, new coaches, all the new things happening with the Houston Rockets, one particular Rocket has kind of slipped through the cracks, and that's KPJ, that's Kevin Porter Jr. Where does he fit going into phase two? I'm going to get into that in this video, so tap in, enjoy.
Sound 42. Turn it up. It's the Chop Not Slap Show. It's OG Ron C and DJ Candlestick. Chop Stars OVO Gang. DJ Candlestick. One time for the home DJ Screw. Already. I'm feeling throwed in this.
The Chop Shop and Mint Mobile have partnered together to bring you some good news. And the good news is that Mint Mobile cell phone service and wireless services are here, and they're here to save you money. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless services as low as $15 a month. That is right, $15 a month. That means you are still keeping your same speed, you're still having the same coverage, you still are able to use the same data that you use, but for the low price of $15 a month. Switching to Mint Mobile is totally easy. I mean, they've made it so easy. You can literally download your SIM card. They have an eSIM card program. You're able to download a SIM card to your phone, and immediately within like 15 minutes, you can activate that SIM card and have a new line with Mint Mobile. For a special limited offer for our Chop Shop viewers, you can get the Mint Mobile services, the unlimited services. That's usually $30. You can get it for $15. That's 50% off. You're saving 50%. You're gonna get the unlimited service for Mint Mobile for only $15 a month. Think of all the stuff you could do with a little bit of extra money that you save from your cell phone bill in your pockets. You can go to a Rockets game. You can, take your family out to eat. Like I said, nobody should be paying this much for cell phone services in 2023. The technology is too good for that. So make the switch today. Go to the link in the description of the video, support the channel, check out Mint Mobile as we're partnering with them, and we're gonna keep dropping that heat.
The time you deserve from me. This is something I know.
When Kevin Porter Jr. was traded to the Houston Rockets, I think collectively everybody was thrilled. Everybody was happy. We were getting a player with high upside. After James Harden's exit from the team, it was a silver lining in the clouds for a dark time for the Rockets. Little did we know that we had a couple more dark times, a couple more cloudy days to come forward out of our team. But at that point, he was a big positive for the fan base. Whether it was him going to the Vipers and playing well over there, him flashing really, really high level play and talent, like when he dropped 50 points on Drew Holiday's neck. All of that really just had people just envisioning what he could be on a better team. You fast forward to 2021, and I think this is really where everything kind of falls off the cart. At that 2021 season, this is when the Kevin Porter Jr. support, or people that disliked his play or disliked him, kind of split into two factions. You had the faction that he could do no wrong. He is the top tier prospect, and everything was not his fault. And that's one group. The other group was that he can do anything right. Like everything is his fault. Everything he did was because he's selfish, he's a bad player, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that both groups were wrong, because my approach to Kevin Porter Jr., there was two prongs. Prong number one is that, one, he is he was 22 years old when he came to the Rockets. So he's a kid, right? He was a kid. He should be, given the same leeway as any young player in the NBA. Then you factor in the fact that he already had a troubled past. The Rockets had a responsibility for them to be able to provide the structures and things in place for him to be successful. So if things weren't wrong with some of those structures not being apparent, then that was on the team, the franchise, that was on the GM, that was on the coach, and those around him. The other part was that he is a professional basketball player, and he's also accountable for his actions. And there were things that he did off the court and on the court that were not professional. Leaving during the game is not professional, right? We don't have to, really do a literature review on that. Like that's bad, bro. That's a bad look. Some of the on-court pouting, we've seen the videos. I've even posted some of those videos. that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So then that's his personal thing that he has to own, is how he controls and how he acts on and off the court with relation to his basketball game. Now, from all accounts, Kevin Porter Jr. is a great kid, great guy. You know, you can't really find anybody that's going to say nothing bad about him. So it's not, none of this is talking about him as a person. We're just talking strictly basketball. So you have the prong of the structures in place for him that is part of the team's responsibility. Then you have the prongs of things he has to do. I'm going to focus first on what the team's responsibilities were. In that 2021 season, he was given the keys to be the point guard for the entire team, right? He was the lead ball handler, the head honcho, and that started off really, really bad. It started off bad. The team didn't fare very well. And if you guys watch my videos, I've made videos about Kevin Porter Jr. The thing with him was that in a vacuum, he's a talented player, but he was being played out of position. And this goes back to the structures that I was talking about with the Rockets. The Rockets provided him structure in the form of consistency when it comes to like support. Like he had the support for whether it was off the court issues, he had the support of the coaching staff, of the GM, Stone, Silas, all of them supported him and gave him all the nurturance and all the things he needed, whether it was somebody to talk to, whether it was just whatever he needed to know. And that's very important for players and people, just humans that have issues or are dealing with trauma or everything like that, is that you want to feel like you are supported. So the Rockets provided that. So kudos to the franchise for doing that. He's even said that he feels like the Rockets saved his life. So, you know, all power to them for doing that. I think where they lacked in their responsibilities to him as a basketball professional was giving him the on-court structure and support he needed to be successful in his role as a basketball player. And what I mean by that is that they put him out there to dry. A lot of the stuff that people didn't like him for was because he was just trying to figure it out. And they're asking him to do something that, you know, as an athlete, you don't want to say no. If somebody says, hey, we're going to make you the point guard. Yeah, man, let's go. You know, every athlete has this belief that they can do anything, and that's what makes them great. Well, for the Rockets to put him as the point guard of a team with so many developing players and so many players that have different personalities like the Christian Woods of the world, it was doomed to fail from the start. And I think that impacted his perception with the fan base. And, you know, y'all know if I'm going to say something, I'm going to back it up with some facts. So let's go to the stats and let's see what I'm talking about. So as we all know, for Kevin Porter Jr., this dude is, you know, super talented. I don't think there's anybody that can say he can't hoop. Like, he's a hooper. He can play. He's a great basketball player. Even for his age, he's above average at a lot of the things that he did. And even the skill set he provides, being a combo guard that can score and be able to facilitate and pass the ball and be talented in both arenas, does lend to why I think the Rockets thought that they could use this experiment to try to develop him as a point guard. I think where the assessment of that failed is that, to me, and y'all know my philosophical views about being a point guard or quarterback, I think it's innate. I think players can be taught how to pass. They can be taught how to craft, you know, hone their skills on playmaking. But to be that high level, or to be somebody that is really, really in that position and doing it well at a high level at the age that he was at, I think you have to be somebody that's really born to do that. And I just don't think he was born to be that lead ball handler, facilitator for the team. Kevin Porter Jr., his strongest tool as a player that he's developed up to this point is his shooting. If we're looking at his 2021 stats, so this is the first year with Christian Wood, him and Jalen Green playing, you can see that this dude was an excellent spot-up shooter. And if you follow me or most of Rockets, you know, Kingdom already knows this. KPJ can shoot. He's a great off-ball shooter. But here's where the Rockets bump their head, right? Look at the percent of time rank that he has. And these stats are from Synergy. Only 12.3% of Kevin Porter's play type, so the plays that he got to function in during the season, during the possessions he had, only 12% of those were his best strength, which is spot-up shooting. So they rate him as an excellent spot-up shooter, but only getting 12.3% of opportunities to do that is criminal. Now let's flip it over to the other side, which is the most frequent plays that KPJ actually ran on the Rockets that year, which is the year Jalen's rookie year, was pick and roll ball handler. And Synergy rates him as an average pick and roll ball handler. And look where he ranks in the 45th percentile. So it's actually slightly below average. And this was almost 40% of his plays. So he's been put in position to be unsuccessful. We're going to beat our heads against the wall and put this kid that is a great spot up shooter. He can score in isolation. He can do, post up a little bit. He can do all these other things. But because we want to experiment and help see what we can get out of him, we're going to put him in a position to be unsuccessful, right? So you can see where I'm going with this. This is where the Rockets failed him. Now, a lot of people evaluate him based on that, but he was just doing what the team asked him to do. Now, remind you, I'm not talking about his on-court, demeanor or his off-court things like walking off the game and all of that. I'm just talking about basketball. He was doing what the team asked him to do, and he wasn't great at it. He wasn't great at it. The things he was good at, they weren't doing it. They were not doing it. They weren't giving him opportunities to do that. They didn't put a guard on the team to give him some reps to play off ball. They didn't put him in different positions where he can get to maximize some of those other things that he does well. And to me, the reason I feel like it's something against him for them to do that, people will say, well, and I've said this, he learned how to play make doing this. That's cool. He could have done that with the second unit. He could have done that. He could have got his reps of point guard off the starting five and just learned to do some of those secondary things with the second unit. But regardless of that, I think the biggest impact for me that I'm seeing this as, in his perspective, is his contract. He was doing what they asked him to do, and it made him look bad. So when it's time to pony up for some money, you know what I mean? You can lowball him. Like, bro, you look at his ranks. You're 45th percentile in the NBA as a pick and roll ball handler. That's all we do as Houston Rockets in 2021. We're gonna run a million pick and rolls, and you're not good at it. So why should I pay you like a top guard? You see? So that's how the game. Y'all got to peep game with that. All right, so if we look at 2022, this is just this season that just passed, the 22-23 season. You can see the best play types that he still has till was spot ups. He was excellent in the spot ups, generating 1.225 points per possession, which will put him in the 92nd percentile in the NBA. 92nd percentile, right? And still roughly around 12 to 13% of his plays were spot ups. So still not getting those opportunities to generate those spot ups, which to me is criminal. And if you look at his most frequent play types from this past season, guess what? Pick and roll ball handler, and he was average. And if you look at his percentile ranking, 44th percentile, he was slightly below average, 0.845. That is nasty. I'm gonna tell you, Jalen is a better pick and roll ball handler than Kevin Porter is. And Jalen is not a point guard, right? He's a combo guard. They're the same player basically with different skill sets. But Jalen is a better pick and roll ball handler. Jalen came in the league just 2 years ago, surpassed him in that range because he was being asked to do what he isn't good at, right? And then 42% of his plays, almost 43%, damn near half of his plays were doing things that were not his strengths. But ignoring the fact that Kevin Porter is a great, isolation player, he's a great spot up shooter, and those other things like that. So, and just to prove the point, this is what you're looking at right now. This is the rankings for spot up shots, minimum 50 possessions. This is where he ranks as a spot up shooter. He is the 43rd in the entire NBA. This is for all players. I want you guys to peep the players that are on this list, right? Peep the Cameron Johnson, right? 3-and-D wing. Trey Murphy, 3-and-D wing. He's ranked higher than those two in spot ups. Now, Michael Porter Jr., 3-and-D. Well, not much D there, pause, but more of a 3 and, lowercase D wing. Gary Harris is 3-and-D wing. You get James Harden, the guard, Kyrie Irving, the guard. So let's factor out all the spot up shooter guys. There's the list that has guards ranked this high, like the James Hardens, like the Kyrie Irvings. You're like, well, Kevin Porter is better than them, and look at their spot up opportunities. You can see James only had 11.9%. Kyrie Irving only has 12% of his possessions in spot ups. And Tyrese Halliburton only has 12%. That's on par with Kevin Porter Jr., right? Yeah, that is on par. But the problem with that is, let's look at what they were doing the majority of the time. See, the thing is, if you're not going to get a lot of spot up opportunities, you're going to get a lot of, as a guard, you're going to get a lot of pick and roll opportunities. or isolation opportunities in the case of James Harden and Kyrie. If you're going to be doing those other things, you better damn near be elite, because it is the dumbest thing for a coach to put their player, especially if they're a player that, you know, you're trying to showcase and you want them to do good and play to their strengths. It is just dumb for you to put a player as the majority of the things that they do on the court are things they're terrible at, right? So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Now, what I'm looking at is the most frequent play types for all of these players and their rankings in that. As we discussed earlier, KPJ's most frequent play type is pick and roll ball handler. He's rated as average. Let's look at the other guards on there. Tyrese Halliburton, guess what his most frequent is? Pick and roll ball handler. I think he's in the 30 something percent of time is he runs pick and rolls. Guess what his rating is? Excellent. James Harden, his number one play type is isolation. Damn near 30% of his plays. Guess what his rating is? Excellent. And he's also a pick and roll ball handler, and he's rated, I think he's very good. I think he dropped down a little bit this past season. And Kyrie Irving, his most frequent play type is pick and roll ball handler. And guess what his rating is? Excellent. So KPJ is the only person on this list of spot up shooters that are pretty elite that get no usage at spot up, but get a bunch of usage somewhere else. And he's the only one that has the most frequent play type being something negative for him. Okay, so let's look at how he ranks as a pick and roll ball handler. So this is what the Rockets wanted him to do. And, let's see where he ranks. All right, check this out. He is ranked 171st in the NBA as a pick and roll ball handler, tied with Rui Hachimura. And if you look at the percent of time that these players on this list are having running their pick and rolls, his number sticks out crazy, 42%. Because most teams, unless you're the Charlotte Hornets, most teams are smart enough to know that if a guy is this deep in the rankings for pick and rolls, I'm not going to give him no damn 42% of time to run those plays. Like if you're in the 170s, whatever, bro, you're not supposed to be getting that many pick and rolls. And you're looking at the names on this list, is Theo Maledon. And look at the possessions. Only 2 possessions. So, percentages, if, like 1 out of 2 is 50%. So let's not even look at let's look at the possessions. All of these dudes are terrible in pick and rolls. And Theo, 2.8. Tobias Harris, 1.4. Raul Neto, 0.8. RJ Barrett is the second most with 4.2. But look at Kevin Porter Jr., 8.5 possessions per game in a pick and roll. This far down on the rankings of pick and roll ball handlers. Once again, not set up for success. So there's 5 players in the NBA that have greater than 40% of their possessions in the pick and roll and generate less than 0.9 points per possession. And 2 of them are Houston Rockets. KPJ and Jalen make that list. He's also on there with Trey Jones, LaMelo, and Killian Hayes. That is coaching malpractice. Because once again, not being so rigid in your offensive approach really puts your players in bad positions. People think Jalen Green is a terrible player. People think he's a ball hog. People think KPJ is a bad basketball player. People think, that he's this, he's that. Now, a lot of the things that he's done, once again, I'm not absolving him from his demeanor. The hands on the hips at the line because they don't pass you the ball, right? The stuff you hear about, some of the stuff on the bench and just the different things that go on behind the scenes with the Rockets. All of that's on him. But I think lately, as he's, grown over the season, he cleaned up a lot of that. The effort was there. He was trying to play hard on both sides of both ends of the court. But once again, not being placed in position to be successful. And that's on coaching. That's on the Rockets, right? Not really evaluating the strengths of your players and then not giving them the structures they need to be better. And the question of where does Kevin Porter Jr. fit in phase 2, to me, can be answered simply as he's going to be a key contributor to this team. There's a world where Kevin Porter Jr. has likely the best season of his career this coming season because of the type of coach that Ime Udoka is, because he addresses those 2 prongs that I talked about earlier. The Rockets have been there to support KPJ as far as being there, being supportive, giving him the resources he needs to, develop and grow as a person. But where we've lacked as a franchise is providing him the basketball structures. And what I mean by that is accountability, right? Being accountable for your actions, being held to a standard. And I think Ime Udoka addresses that issue. He addresses some of the demeanor issues. You're not going to put your hands on your hips and get playing time, right? You're going to get pulled. There's better players now. We've addressed that with veterans, with Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks and Jeff Green and Londale on the team. Now he has veterans, not only veterans like Boban, who are great guys, but veterans who are, in a lot of their cases, better than him, right? And I'm not saying that to say it as a slight, but sometimes you need to see somebody that actually plays before you can listen to them. Yeah, right? Because we're trying to get that on-court development for him. So you're thinking about all of those structures that they have in place now. But on the basketball court, I think what Ime brings as a coach and what he's shown to do with the teams he's on, especially the Celtics team that he took to the finals, fits Kevin Porter Jr.'s game to a T. If you look at how the Celtics played in the year that they went to the finals in the 21-22 season, they generated the most spot-ups in the NBA. Look at their spot-up ranks. Spot-up possessions, they were number one. Spot-up percentage of time. So this is how many plays that of all their plays, what percentage was spot-ups and how does that rank in the NBA? Number one in that. Points scored from spot-ups, number one in the NBA. Field goal attempts from spot-ups, number one in the NBA. Points per possession from spot-ups, number 8 in the NBA. So once again, you got to think about is they're number 8 with a high frequency. Because the way percentages work, if a team doesn't really take a lot of spotted possessions, but they hit a good amount of threes, then they're going to be ranked higher in the points per possession and the field goal percentage, etc. It's like the Usman Garuba effect when he was like taking like 1 3 every 5 games and had like a 60% 3-point field goal percentage. But compared to a player like Steph, who takes like 10 threes a game, he has like 38%. Who's a better shooter? Obviously Steph. So you got to factor that in when you're looking at the points per possession from spot-ups, being ranked 8th while being number 1 in every other frequency metric. They were 3-point field goal percentage, number 7. Their EFG, they were number 9. This is impressive. And this is really what Ime Udoka does, and we saw a lot of that in the Summer League. I think the Rockets Summer League team took the most threes out of any team in Summer League. We might have been first or second, but that's what they're going to do. They're going to generate a lot of open threes. They're going to drive and kick. They're going to move the ball. They're going to pass. And y'all see my other video talking about Ime's calling card is passing. The other calling card, if it had a flip side to it, it's shooting threes, generating those spot ups. And you look at how Ime Udoka used his guards in Boston, and the 2 guards with Marcus Smart and Derek White, their most frequent possessions of those 2 were spot-ups, not pick and rolls, spot-ups. Derek White at 39.7%, Marcus Smart at 36.6% were generating spot-ups, because just like we saw in Summer League, and they tried a little bit of this with a man playing off ball, their staff likes to generate paint touches from the wing position. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown were the initiators in Boston. Now, obviously, I don't think we have that level of playmaking and ball handling at our wings at this moment, but I think they're going to try to cultivate that with Tari, Jabari, with Cam, with some of the guys. But you do have the ability to initiate some of those dribble handoffs from the wing position and attacking closeouts, getting into the paint, generating those spot-up opportunities for your guards. So that means Jaylen got to get ready to shoot. And Kevin Porter, he's a sniper. So this is why I think he's going to be super successful in this offense, because not only is he already one of the best spot-up shooters in the NBA, he's somebody that brings everything else you need offensively. You need somebody that could do some dribble handoffs. He can do it. You need somebody that could run a pick and roll once, frequently, not 40%. Maybe we can get that into where Marcus Smart was in the pick and rolls, which was roughly about 20%. I think that's really the makeup. I like how Marcus Smart and Derek White were used on the Celtics, where their number 1 play types were spot ups in the high 30s, pick and rolls were in the low 20s or high teens, and then everything else kind of fell within there. And a lot of this is going to be alleviated by the fact that we actually have a elite pick and roll ball handler with Fred VanVleet, and Amen Thompson is yet to be seen what he looks like as an NBA pick and roll guard. But I think that's going to help Kevin Porter a lot, because that is really what's going to unlock some of those paint touches that he wants. So I think Kevin Porter's fit in phase 2. I think that he's going to be a player that's going to get a lot of minutes. I think that his skill set is about to be maximized. And I think it's a bit unfair on how we have evaluated his game, given the circumstances that a lot of these players had to play under. Now, I could make a chart for misuse for every single player on our roster, whether it's Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green. All the young players were misused in their true skill sets. And I think now we are about to see what they actually have in the bag, right? And this is where, when I start evaluating the Rockets and what I think they're going to do this season, this is where you get that room for improvement in a large way. And what I mean by that is I've set my win mark at 35, but this is 35 assuming what we saw with our players under the last coaching regime. This is assuming 35 when they were being set to be unsuccessful. This is assuming 35 in players that had to work really, really, really hard to get everything, even simple things in the NBA, getting to the line, getting shots, guys just being in position. They had to work really hard for everything they did. This is assuming 35 wins. I don't know what they look like when they're being played to their strengths. I don't know what Jalen looks like when he's getting a healthy dose of dribble handoffs and not being forced to run 40% possessions in pick and roll. I don't know what Kevin Porter looks like when he's getting 36% of spot ups. What does his numbers look like doing that? You know what I mean? I don't know what any of these guys, I don't know what Jabari looks like playing next to Fred VanVleet. I don't know what Sengun looks like having a pick and roll ball handler like Fred and the men. Fred, who's ranked by Synergy, is a very good pick and roll ball handler. I don't know what any of this looks like. And I think that gives it, to me, the impression that, one, we don't know what the season is going to look like. It could be worse, which I doubt, or it could be much, much better than we actually imagine. And for the Kevin Porter Jr. part, all of this lends to me, my final takeaways from this is that everybody gets a blank slate. Everybody gets a blank slate. No rankings from the past, like where, we think that, oh, this guy should play over this guy. If Ime Udoka is really, really focused on developing a meritocracy based on effort, playing the right way, doing what the coaches ask you to do, being selfless, and all the right character things that we have to do, then everybody should get a fair shot. And I think there's a world where if Kevin Porter can buy in, if he can lose some of that ego, lose some of that, about me, I'm the head honcho. Like, we don't care about that, bro. It's not about you anymore. All of them, it's about the team. And when you're trying to win, you do whatever the team wants you to do. You don't have to be a point guard. You don't have to be an off guard. You just play where you fit in. You play to your strengths, and you just buy in and adapt to what your coaching staff is asking you to do. If he can do that, I think that he is, to me, going to be an important core piece for this Rockets team going forward. And I'm not ready to give up on that experiment like some people are who want to trade him. I think that he deserves this year to show us what he is, because if Kevin Porter Jr. hits his ceiling, you have a very intriguing player. So I'm not sure what y'all think about this. I know there's a lot of KPJ discourse, and it goes both ways with the hate, the love in between. Some people don't care. The Rockets were, when they were talking about their young cores earlier during the leading up to the offseason, they never included him. So I don't know what they were trying to say, but I still think that he has a lot to give to the game of basketball at the NBA level. And I think that, in fact, he's just scratching the surface on his skills. I think there's a perfect marriage going on here with him and Coach Udoka. It's just going to be on him. He's going to be 24. He just turned 23. He's going to be 24 by next season. After that season's over, when you get closer, y'all have heard me say this on the live streams. When you're around your 24, 25 years old as a man, as a male, your brain starts developing a little bit more. So I assume a lot of those off the court issues and all that stuff goes away. And what does that player look like? What is this player that had off the court issues at USC that cost them being a lottery pick and slipping down to being the 30th pick? What is this, what does that look, what would that have looked like if you didn't have that? What is this player that Cleveland drafted that got traded for nothing because he couldn't control his temper? What does that look like? What does that player look like? What does that player look like in Houston that he wasn't forced to play a position that he was not really good at and put in position to be unsuccessful? What does that look like? Well, we're about to find out. So y'all let me know. How do you think Kevin Porter Jr. is going to do this year in phase 2 under Coach Udoka? next to Fred VanVleet, next to Amen Thompson, next to all these great vets that the Rockets have added. I think he's going to do great. You guys let me know in the comments and in the chat. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop, and we're going to keep dropping that fire.
All my life I've been told that, yeah, he's good, but he got this wrong with him, or this is missing.
Guard, number 3, Kevin Porter Jr.
And I just use it as fuel.
KPJ Porter Jr. again. Look at that, Kevin Porter Jr.
I'm so passionate about what I do, and I'm trying to be the best. So stay tuned.